Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, your city, Psychology Today will pop up, click on that, and it will have all of the therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom, done. Okay, so today's topic is healing after abuse, but I wanted to do a rundown of what goes on during abuse, before abuse, during abuse, so that you have a good idea of what is happening. So, okay, hi guys. Okay, so what is going on is love bombing. Let's talk about that first. So first of all, we get groomed. We absolutely get groomed by people our caregivers to become addicted to the intermittent positive rewards. We get groomed for that. We get taught to be codependent. We get taught to be, that we deserve that our self-esteem is not 100%. So, oh gosh, hi everybody. Wow. Hi. So first of all, what happens is it goes back to the original wound. It goes back to those caregivers. We have been groomed to be taken advantage of. We have been groomed to put up with abuse. So that's what's going on. So then what we do is we look for somebody who matches that imago, who matches that original wound, who reminds us consciously or subconsciously of our abuser, of our caregiver, the one that we had the most problems with. And that's the problem. Holy cow, guys. Hi, it's good to see all of you. That's awesome. So we look for somebody to try to fix that original wound with, but unfortunately we don't deal with the original wound. We go out and we try to find somebody that reminds us of that original wound. Okay, now we've got the setup. Now we've got the setup for being abused. So we go out and we find somebody that reminds us of that original wound, and we get together with them. And what do? They love bomb, love bomb, love bomb, love bomb. I'm your match. I'm your perfect mirror. I'm your perfect mate. It was meant to be. It was kismet, simpatico. It's you're everything that I was ever supposed to come into my life, blah, 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 blah. So they're mirroring you. So remember that. They are mirroring you. You fell in love with you. So then they do that until they get the hooks into you, and now they've got you. Now you're trapped. You're either living with them, or you're married to them, or you're engaged, or something, okay? And they move lightning speed, lightning speed, lightning speed. So you got to remember that healthy relationships do not move at lightning speed. They don't. So they want to move at lightning speed. They want to move in. They want that ring. They want that commitment. They want this. They want that. Okay. Because they want to control is what they're doing. So then once they've got you there and they've got their hooks into you, they start sabotaging. They start isolating you from family and friends. So pretty soon it will be, if you've got kids, they'll start saying things like, I don't like your children. I don't like them around. They're taking too much time away from me, away from us, right? And, I don't want them with us. I don't want them around. I want them to be gone. I want them, that kind of thing. They'll start doing that. Then they'll start working on the family and the friends. And they will absolutely, because they're so damn arrogant, they will tell you exactly what they're going to do. I'm going to make sure that, they'll go to the family and friends and say, I'm going to make sure that you're not going to be friends with them anymore. Or I'm going to make sure that you're not able to talk to him anymore. I'm going to make sure that he or she knows that you're a bad influence. I'm going to make sure. And they start the smear campaign on the family and the friends in order to isolate the target of abuse. And the target of abuse is, by this point in time, so deeply into the fog that they can't see it happening. It's like, it's a bad analogy, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's like the frog in boiling water. You just put a frog in a pan of water and you start turning up the heat real slow, and pretty soon the next thing you know, the damn thing's cooked. So, and that's exactly what happens to us in an abusive relationship, because the abuse is so insidious and they use just enough truth to make it sound plausible. So they will say things like, oh, your family and friends are out to get me and they don't like me and da-da-da. Well, geez, maybe there's a reason the family and friends don't like you. Hello, isolation, putting down, getting the kids out of the picture. What the actual, you know what I'm saying? There's a reason family and friends are saying things like this. But then what they will do is they will demand that the target of abuse, ultimatum, it's me or them, me or them. And the target of abuse is so fogged that we oftentimes go with the abuser, throwing our own children under the bus. Duh fuck. Seriously. The fuck? So that's a huge red flag. Huge red flag. If any of this sounds familiar to you, holy cow, get out. So they don't like the friends because they fear exposure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they know that the family and the friends see them for the POS that they really are. Absolutely. So, okay. So, sorry, got off track. Where was I going? Okay. So, yeah. So they've isolated. So now you're isolated. So now you're in the abuse. Now they can the heck they want to. And I can guarantee you, if they're not getting their way, they are probably raging at you. They are keeping you up at night, demanding that you get rid of your family and friends. They are probably screaming and yelling and having fits and this, that, and the other thing. And then, okay, you got rid of your family and friends. Now there's nobody. Now it's just you and them. And it's still not good enough. Still not good enough. So now you're not making enough money. Well, you need to get a better job. You're not making enough money. I don't like this about you. I don't like that about you. Why are you wearing your hair this way? Why do you dress this way? Why do you talk this way? Why are you doing this? Why? Nasty. We're kind of in the discard phase now, or the other side of the love bombing. So now we're into that I'm going to abuse the living crap out of you phase. So nothing is ever good enough. Nothing is ever right. Nothing is ever good enough. And now they start sabotaging your job. Now they start keeping you up at night. Now they start raging at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning until the wee hours of the morning. Now they start making it so that if you do get a good job and you have to drive to get to that job, they're going to sabotage it. They're going to sabotage it because, oh, you are taking too much time away from the family. You are taking too much time away from me. We need to be together all the time. That's not normal, guys. That is so not normal. If you are in a relationship and somebody is demanding that you are together with them all the time, that is not healthy. That is not normal. That is enmeshed. That is not a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is where one person has got their own life. The other person has got their own life. They come together. They have a lot of fun. They talk about their own lives. They're not jealous of their own lives or each other's lives. And you move forward. With an abuser, there is no other life. It's like your life has to revolve around them. The sun rises and sets on their ass. That is their belief. Absolutely. So that is what abusers do. So now the target of abuse is in the fog. They're fearful. Oh, hold on a second. Why do people act this way? It makes me sad. I'm glad I have awareness now. Thanks for your support. You're very welcome, Donna. Because of the original abuse, because we never worked on the original abuse. If we were aware of the original abuse, we would be able to, hi Beth, we would be able to see an abuser coming 1.5 miles away and sidestep them. Absolutely. Or the first time that somebody shows you who they really are, when that mask slips and they blurt out the truth, because this is what abusers do. They telegraph what they're going to do. I am going to make sure you're not friends with this person. I am going to make sure that you're not able to speak to the target of abuse. I'm going to make sure that you're no longer friends. I'm going to make sure that you're having problems with your family. I'm going to make sure they're isolated. Yeah, they tell the family and friends exactly what they're going to do. But then the target of abuse, one of two things is going on. Either their ego is so great that they can't acknowledge that they've picked another loser, or they're so in the fog that they can't see it because the abuser is lying, smearing. And then the target of abuse is forced to choose between the family and the friends and the love interest. It sucks. It really does. It sucks for the target of abuse. It sucks for the family and friends too, but it sucks even worse for the target of abuse because now they're isolated. Now they have no support system whatsoever. The only friends that they have are the abuser's friends. The only contact they have are the abuser and the abuser's family. They do not have their own set of friends around because the rest of the family and friends have said, we don't want anything to do with him or her. Done. So, okay. All right. Can abusers get in contact with their real self outside of the ego without manipulating the target? No. There is no there, guys. There is no there. Listen to me now. Believe me later. I get this question all the time. Can abusers get healed? No, they cannot. And I'm going to talk about that in a future podcast. Can they get better? No, they cannot. Why? Because there is no there. Their moral compass is gone. Totally, completely gone. They truly believe that it's okay to lie. They truly believe it's okay to cheat. They truly believe it's okay to do whatever they need to do to get their wants, their needs met. Why? Because they are operating on no more than a 6-year-old level. No more, and probably closer to a 2 to 3-year-old level. That's why. It's the ego. The ego is huge in abusers. Ginormous. Absolutely ginormous. Okay, so Now the target of abuse is completely isolated. Friends or family are off the table. The abuser is now letting the mask slip more and more and more. So you go out to dinner with the abuser, and if the topic of conversation is not revolving around the abuser, they will literally bang their hands on the table and go, talk about me. I want this to come back to me. Talk about me. And they will also twist the conversation so it comes back to them. This is what abusers do. So hang on a second. You seem to be having you seem to be having a groundhog moment. Don't know what's going on, but it's stuck like a record going over the same bit. You sound like you have a lovely singing voice when you say just enough truth. You're back. Hooray. Okay. So yeah, it's crazy. It's like they have us under a trance. They really do. And it's the fog. It's the fear. It's the obligation. And it's the guilt. And it goes right back to the original wound. So now you're isolated. Now they're demanding all your time and attention. Now they're throwing fits and I want to be the center of attention. And why can't we bring this back to me? And I'm going to talk about me now. That's what they do. That's what they do. It is Groundhog Day. It's like the same behavior everywhere. And this is the other crazy thing that I keep telling people. It's like, oh, good Lord, my hair is just like, this is what I keep telling people. The abuse is the same, no matter where in the world it is, whether it's in Vancouver or whether it's in Timbuktu or whether it's in Argentina or whether it's in Russia. It is all the same. The abusers do the same playbook. They say the same things. They do the same actions. They do the same kind of isolation. They do the same kind of put down. Everything is the same. And guess what? The way we respond as abuse targets is exactly the same. Exactly the same across the board, across the world, across cultures. Please talk about healing during abuse. Next to all those familiar techniques like gray rock, etc., is there something else you can suggest one can do to heal while having to stay in contact with a crazy person? By the way, I read currently your book, What's Wrong with Your Dad, and love it. It's truly a lifesaver and your humor is the best. I recommended this book to anyone who's had troubled childhood with their parents. Thank you very much. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. As long as you are in contact with the abuser, so if you are still living with them, it's never going to get better. Let me just say that again. As long as you are living with the abuser, it is never going to get better. And every little effort that you do to heal yourself, they are going to undo. They are going to absolutely sabotage. That's why I'm telling people, get the fuck out. Save yourself. You're going to have to. Because as long as the abuser is in your life, you will never be successful. You will never be able to hold down a job. You will never be doing what you want to do. Your hobbies will be taken away from you. Your family and friends will be sabotaged and taken away from you. Your life is going to be very, very miserable, and they're going to be keeping you up, abusing you. You're not going to have enough sleep. You're going to be sleep deprived. You're going to be manipulated nonstop. So when you are in the middle of an abusive relationship, what you do is you plan your escape. You get in a safety plan together, you get an escape plan together, you contact shelters, you contact family, you contact friends, you keep it on the down low, and then you get the fuck out. That's really what you do. And you get a therapist, and you do not tell your abuser you're seeing a therapist. So because we are dealing with the original wound, oftentimes what happens is when we're in the middle of it and we're starting to come out of the fog and we're starting to go, oh shit, I need to get out of there. Oh man, I need a therapist. We are still conditioned and trained to run back to our abuser and tell them everything. Y'all got to stop that shit. Y'all got to just stop that, because that's what's sabotaging you. If they know you're working on you, if they know you're planning on getting out, they'll make sure it doesn't happen. They'll absolutely do that. They will sabotage your therapy. They will sabotage whatever support group you're in. They'll sabotage any healthy relationship you have. Yeah, you've got to just keep it quiet and get the fuck out. Period. I hope that answered the question. Oh, the joys of curly wavy hair. Yeah, there are days. One day my ex called me out of nowhere after years of no contact just to say hi, and started talking about him and his last relationship and how bad that relationship was. Oh my, he wouldn't stop talking. Yeah, they do that. They have no sense of decorum. None. They don't get it. They just, like I said, there is no moral compass. There is no there. There is no putting themselves into another person's shoes. That requires empathy. Doesn't happen. That is my next buy. Horrible. I'm there with my 87-year-old mom. Ooh, gosh. They are ruthless. Yes, they are. The Cha-Cha book is great. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that helped. What is the first step that should be made after move out? Okay, I'm getting there. 3 years out and no traction. I feel like I hit a brick wall. Okay, so now we're in the fog. Now we're coming out of the fog. Now we're starting to recognize, oh crap, I'm isolated. I don't have any family or friends. The only people I have are the abuser's family and friends, which are really not family and friends, they're flying monkeys. I don't like this. I want out. So you plan the safety plan, you get your escape going, you get out of the relationship. But here's the deal. Leaving is the most dangerous time for abuse targets. Why? Because our abusers are crazy and they don't want us to go because we are their favorite punching bag. This is why domestic violence is so scary, and this is why it's so frightening, and this is why people are terrified to leave, because it's kind of like, oh crap, now the shit's going to hit the fan. Yeah, it is. And you've got to be prepared. That's why I'm saying you've got to have a safety plan. You've got to have a place to go. You've got to have money saved up. I've talked about this in a previous video. So what you are going to do is you are going to now be in that in-between phase where it's like you're coming in and out of the fog, in and out of the fog. This is like right when you're getting ready to leave. It's like in and out, in and out, in and out. I don't like this. I don't like the way I'm being treated. I don't like being isolated. I miss my family. I miss my friends. I miss my hobbies. I miss everything that I used to be doing. But, oh my gosh, they're my romantic partner. And, oh, but when it's great, it's wonderful. Oh man, how many times have I heard that? Oh, but when they're in love with me, it's wonderful. It's the most amazing cocaine ever. Yeah, it's like crack. It is. We are addicted to that mirroring. So when you actually leave healing after the abuse, you have got to go cold fucking turkey. Just as if you were stopping smoking, just as if you were stopping crack cocaine, just as if you were stopping alcohol, you've got to quit cold turkey, and you need to treat it like an addiction. Abso-fucking-lutely. We are addicted to that up phase. We are addicted to that, oh my gosh, they're mirroring me. Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, this is the greatest feeling ever. And oh shit, this is terrible. Oh my God, they hate me again. And oh no, they love me. It's great. Oh wow, this is awesome. See, endorphins and dopamines, endorphins and dopamines, endorphins and dopamines. The only way to stop that is to stop it. You got to put the drug down. You got to put the bottle down. You got to put the pills down. You got to put the needle down. You got to put it down, and you got to walk the fuck away and have absolutely no contact with them. Absolutely. And that is a terrifying thought to us, because if we are dealing with our inner child and that original wound, oh my God, now we're alone. This is the danger part. So hold on a second. So I'm going to get back to that. My narc told me once, oh, good Lord. Oh, wait, I'm missing a bunch of stuff. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. They're coming in fast and furious. Okay. Okay, Ruth, I'm going to answer the rest of that question. Hang on. I went low contact in Grey Rock with my narcissist mother. The abuse got so much worse and turned on my son. After no contact established, I started to get myself back. Yeah. Could you give an example of an elder narc? Okay. Elder narc. Okay. I'll talk about that later. Remind me. Okay. Yeah, they discard. When they realize you're onto them, they discard. Okay. Sometimes I feel sad for my mother because she has been so abused by her parents, and I want to help her heal too. It feels egotistic to leave my parents in their misery. No, it's not. Here's the deal. There's a reason I titled my latest book, You Can Lead a Horse to Water, but you can't make him cha-cha. You cannot fix the unwilling. They have to want to be healed. They have to want to be done with abuse. Are you done being abused? Period. And that's what I ask people when they come in to see me. It's like, are you done being abused? And sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. And you know, it's heartbreaking to watch when they're not, because it's like if there's an easy path and a hard path, they consistently pick the hard path because of self-esteem issues. Like they feel they're not worthy, or that they can't do it, or that they deserve to be screamed at, or whatever. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. So yeah, that's why I named the book that way. You cannot fix the unwilling. They have to really, honest to God, like an alcoholic, say, I need help. I recognize it. I'm an alcoholic. I need help. I can't do this on my own. I need help, and I'm done. And I'm really, truly done being abused. So that's the thing. And oftentimes people are not done being abused for various reasons. Either they're addicted to the drama, they're addicted to the upswing, they're addicted to, you know, whatever, and they're terrified. So getting back to that, leaving, this is where it becomes dangerous for us, because if it is a long-term abusive relationship, we will have incorporated the nastiness from our abuser into our head. And now all of a sudden, we might have had great self-esteem before we got involved with the abuser, but after the abuser, oh my God, who am I? I don't even know what I like. who am I? What are my wants? What are my needs? What do I like to do? I don't know. I've given my entire life to pleasing this abuser. So that's oftentimes how targets of abuse feel coming out of an abusive relationship. They have lost themselves because they have been told, you must think the way I think, the abuser thinks. You must think the way I think. You must do what I do. You must like what I like. You must do the habits that I have. You must, and they lose everything that gave them joy. They don't remember. They're like, I don't even know what makes me happy anymore. And that is the saddest statement I hear over and over and over and over from targets of abuse. So the other thing that I see happening is that when we get out of an abusive relationship, because these thoughts are so mean and so nasty and so vicious and so, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. Nobody's going to love you. That's the main thing that abusers tell us when we leave. Nobody else is ever going to love you the way I did. You're never going to find anyone who loves you as much as I do. Well, God, I hope so, because you're a bitch. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, they do this. They tell us that no one will ever love us the way that they loved us, that no one will ever get us the way they get us, blah, 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 blah. They're all that in a bag of chips, and that we're losers for leaving them, and that we're never going to be loved. That's their fantasy. What they're doing is they're projecting. Nobody is ever going to love them the way that an empath does. Nobody is ever going to want to please them the way an empath does. Nobody, and they will be alone when they're old. And okay, that's what they deserve. So there's that. Okay, so in that time period when we leave, we've got all these negative, nasty thoughts. Negative, nasty, negative, nasty. Not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. What if, not good enough, not good enough. What if. So you've got to get into a therapist, guys. You've got to get into a therapist. You gots to, because you need that independent third party that can reflect back reality to you, because the abuser has filled your head with a bunch of magic thinking, not real, mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, all of the unhealthy things that abusers do. And you've got to replace this blah, 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 with healthy, kind, gentle, parental, nice parental voice. Hey, I like you. Hey, good job. Oops, you fucked up. Okay, make amends. Okay, you made amends. Okay, good. Forgive yourself. Okay, move on. Okay, that's what this voice is. And it's not what if, it's what is. Okay, I could worry about that. Worrying is like a prayer for bad things to happen. What is? What is right now, right here, right now? What is the likelihood of a meteor striking me? Well, it's there. It's not very likely, but it's there. So I can acknowledge it. So remember, you don't want to resist. You don't want to resist thoughts, but you also don't want to invite them in for coffee. So when you have anxious thoughts, you kind of go, oh, yep, there's that anxious thought. Hello, anxious thought. Yep, I see you. Yeah, that could possibly happen. And the likelihood of that is really not that great. So I'm just going to send you floating down the Ganges. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. That's what you got to do. So you want to acknowledge the thought, not resist it, but also don't invite it in for coffee. And that's what we do. That's our biggest mistake, is that we invite all of these negative, nasty thoughts in for coffee. You don't have to. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to attend every single negative thought that comes into your space. You can see it, you can acknowledge it, and you can tell it to go bye-bye, bye-bye now, bye-bye. And you got to start practicing that. You are the master of you. You absolutely have the power. And that's where we get stuck, and this is what I wanted to talk about, is that we get stuck in the victim way of thinking because of the abuser, because the abuser has told us we have no power. The abuser has told us that we are stupid, or that we are dumb, or that we are, not attractive, or that we are whatever bullshit that they're projecting. Okay. And part of us, that little kid part of us, believes it. That's why it's important to work on the inner child and that original wound. How old do you feel when you start hearing those thoughts? That's what you got to work on. And that's why you need a therapist, so that you can start disabusing yourself of the abuse. Love that phrase. Anyway, okay, so while we are in this particular time frame, okay, so we've left the abuse, we've come out of the fog, we recognize that this is not healthy, this is not what we want, we miss our family, we miss our friends, we miss our hobbies, we're not even really sure what our hobbies are now, because we've been in the relationship for so long and been told what to think, do, smell, see, feel, etc. So now we're trying to get back to who we are. So here's the danger period. Because the thoughts are so nasty, because it's like blah, 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 nonstop, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, what if, not good enough, I'm going to die alone, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. This is when people dive right back into another relationship. For the love of God and any or other deities out there that are on the side of good and light, don't fucking do that. Jesus criminy. Okay, so what ends up happening is your picker is broken. Listen to me now. Believe me the fuck later. Your picker is broken. You have no business being in a relationship with anybody until you get back into a relationship with yourself. Boom, mic drop. Seriously, it's like people don't get that. It's like they're like, but I'm alone and I have all these thoughts and I don't like them and I need a distraction. I know, dating website. Okay, people, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Dating websites are filled with predators because they are looking for people who are desperate. Guess what? Your inner 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, however old you were when the original abuse was accused and abused, is desperate. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who wants to connect immediately because, oh dear God, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. Guess what? You need to be alone with your thoughts because 9 times out of 10, those nasty thoughts are not even yours in the first place. So you got to do some cleaning. You got to grab the broom and you got to start pushing those damn things out because they're not even yours. They either belong to your abuser or they belong to your original caregiver that instilled the original wound. You need to hand it back to them. This is the work that needs to be done. And this is the work that people avoid because they're terrified. I don't blame them. It is scary and it is hard work and it means having to feel. It does. It means having to feel. Dear Lord, I'm trying to get my hair out of my face and it just goes. Okay, so it means having to feel. You have to feel it to heal it. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have targets of abuse sitting on my couch going, I'm going to die alone. I don't want to be alone. I don't like these thoughts. I need a distraction. I need somebody. The person you need is in the mirror. The person you need is in the mirror. Y'all don't need anybody else. You need yourself. And you've lost yourself. And your abuser, whoever they were, whether it's the original wound or whether it's the person you got romantically involved with, has lied to you and told you that you needed somebody else. No, you need you. You absolutely need you. You don't need anybody else. You may want someone else, but you don't need anybody else. You got to work on yourself and you've got to be alone. It's just like, has anybody out there seen 28 Days with Sandra Bullock? I fucking love that movie. So basically it's like at the end of the movie, one of the things that they said is, look, you know, when you get clean and sober, you stay away out of relationships for at least a year because you need to figure out who you are. It's the same thing. We're getting clean and sober off of the mirroring, off of the love bombing. That's what we were addicted to, not the abuse. And it pisses me off when people say, oh, they're addicted to the abuse. This is why they're not leaving. Yeah, fuck you. We were addicted to the mirroring. We were addicted to the, oh, this is my perfect mate. This is my, this is my everything. This is, oh my gosh, this is everything I ever wanted, blah, blah, blah. That's what we're addicted to. So when you get clean and sober off of a substance, any substance, whether it is the mirroring or whether it is alcohol or crack or meth or anything else, you stay single for an entire year and you work on you. You figure out who the fuck you are. What do you want? Where is your happy? What gives you joy? What is the true kind voice inside of you? Who gave you the negative, nasty voice? Where did this anxiety come from? Who taught that to you? We do not just pop out of the womb going, okay, I'm a baby. You know what? I think it'd be really great if I just lived my whole life going, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if? No, bullshit. No, we're taught that. It is a learned behavior. And the good news is, if it's a learned behavior, it can be unlearned and it can be replaced with healthy behavior. So that's why you need that entire year to work on you. Who are you really? What do you want? What's your happy? What lights your fire? What recharges your battery? What gives you joy? What do you want? Separate from being codependent and trying to fix this original wound. You got to fix the original wound, guys. And this is what everybody wants to avoid. And this is what every addict wants to avoid. Seriously, it's so funny because when somebody sits down and they're like, yeah, I kind of sort of drink too much. Okay, they're in the pre-contemplative phase. We do the same thing with abuse. Yeah, I know they're not good for me, but Pre-contemplative. So you've got to be done. You've got to recognize that you're done being abused, and you got to put your drug down. That means you've got to go no contact. And then your next task is mastering the thoughts. The thoughts are what are fucking up your world. Period. Because the thoughts are driving the emotions and they're driving the actions. So wherever your thoughts are going is inevitably what you are going to do. So you must be meticulous in your thoughts. You must get a grip on the abuse, because now it's in your head. Now it's like nonstop. So you've got to get a grip on that, and you've got to work on the original wound, and you've got to stay out of a relationship until your self-esteem is rock fucking solid. You know who you are. You know what you want. You have your list of deal breakers. Your self-esteem is good. You're working on your codependency. You understand that you don't need to say yes to everybody and their dog. You've got the word no down, and you know what you want and what you don't want. And you know that when you see an abuser, you're going to recognize it for what it is, and you're going to sidestep it. Okay? If you don't do that, if you just dive from one relationship to the next, I can guarantee you that each relationship will be a different aspect of whatever the original wound was. It'll be another abuser in some way, shape, or form. May not be a covert abuser. So if your first one was a covert abuser, the next one will be, or overt abuser. If the first one was an overt abuser, the next one will be covert, and vice versa. You know, or there'll be a religious nut, or there'll be whatever kind of abuse. We keep learning the lessons we need to learn until we actually figure it the fuck out. Things keep happening when we avoid stuff. So you don't want to avoid. You don't want to necessarily invite things in, but you also don't want to avoid. You want to work on stuff. So things keep happening in our life until we earn our merit badge. Things keep happening in our life until we confront the fear, that original wound. That's what we are terrified of seeing. So it's super important to stay single. You have no business being in another relationship until you recognize that you're worthy of a healthy relationship. And that means working on self-esteem. That means working on the codependency. That means working on the original wound. That means not getting another imago of that original wound to try to fix it. So instead of fixing the original wound, all you're doing is compounding the horse shit until the stall is filled with horse stew. And now you're going to have to sit there and you know, shovel it down until you get to the bare floor. And you're going to have to feel. And that's the sucky thing. Okay. I find support groups with DV programs and find support groups with DV programs and build your support. They will stand with you on the way up the ladder to an abuse-free life and help fill those wounds with positive healings. Abso-fucking-lutely. Get to a support group. Find support. Now, I'm not saying you need to be alone, as in no friends. I'm saying don't romantically get involved with somebody. That's a big, huge mistake. Your picker is broken. I'm going to say this again. Until you really get your self-esteem under control and know who you are and really get that codependency under control and have started working on the original wound and recognize abuse when you see it, you have no business being in a relationship. If you don't know who you are or what you want, you have no business being in a relationship. If you don't have your list of deal breakers down, you have no business being in a relationship, period. Okay. When I left, I knew it was a one-shot deal. I never went back. I knew I didn't want to be one of the statistics that took 7 times to figure it out and force myself to go to cold turkey. Yeah. So statistically, it takes 7 times of leaving before somebody will stop. It also takes 7 times of stopping a drug before it finally sticks. That's why relapse happens, guys. This is why, you know, we talk about in AA, we talk about, yeah, relapse is always a possibility. You bet. It's always there. And anybody who says, oh, I'm never going to do that again. Well, you know, as a recovering alcoholic, I cannot say that. If I came home and my house was burnt down and my dogs were dead and my husband was dead, you fucking bet your ass I'd head to the nearest bar. Of course, I'd call AA sponsor first, but, you know, talk me out of it. But that would be my first inclination, you bet. So that's why I'm saying it is so dangerous, that time period when we leave, because, yeah, relapse is the greatest in the first year of sobriety. So relapse is the greatest in that first year of leaving an abusive relationship, because it's the same damn thing. It's still a fucking drug. So you've got to treat it as if you were quitting a substance. Absolutely. Absolutely. And good for you, Grace. That's awesome. Yeah, you can beg the abuser to go to therapy. They will for a short amount of time until the therapist figures out that they're the problem, and then I can guarantee you they will quit. It is never, ever, ever a good idea to go to couples counseling with an abuser, ever, period, exclamation point, because they'll use whatever is said in therapy against you. So you don't want to do that. Okay, I'm done being abused. Sadly, my ex is abusing our kids, not stopping, trying to reach a shelter because he won't let go after 2 years. Well, that's called Obsessive X Syndrome. So, and this is why it's so dangerous in the time period that we leave, is because it's kind of like the devil we know versus the devil we don't. And honestly, the devil you don't know is actually better. So the fear is, oh, well, you know, the abuse is just going to ramp up. Well, initially it will. Yeah, in the beginning it will. And that's why you've got to protect yourself. You have to have orders of protection. You have to work on your self-esteem. You have to get with a good therapist. You've got to have a good lawyer. You've got to, especially if there's kids involved. And, you know, eventually their mask slips to the point where people start seeing it. So yeah, you just keep going. You keep protecting yourself. You keep protecting your kids. And it is dangerous because they can be absolutely insane. They will adopt different personas and try to pursue you on social media, or they will make threats through a third party, hoping that it gets back to you. And it's like, oy gavalt. Okay. How about when they encourage you to do something new, like take a class and put up a bunch of roadblocks? Yeah. Oh yeah, because they want it. They want the image of, oh, I'm so supportive. Well, I've encouraged you to take this class, but why aren't you doing it? Meanwhile, you're not spending enough time with me. Why are you always in this class? And da 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 da. Yeah, they absolutely will sabotage. You betcha. And they'll do this with jobs too. You know, they'll demand that you make more money. But then as soon as the job takes you away from them, like you're having to work overtime or you're having to drive a long distance to get to that job, they'll make sure that you're late. They'll make sure that you can't work overtime. They'll make sure to punish you if you do. They'll keep you up at night. They'll, you know, do all of that stuff. Okay. No contact. Good. Yeah, they tell you to get out and discard you if you see through them. Yeah. So here's the thing. If they leave you, the likelihood is that they will probably leave you alone until their new supply runs out. Now, what ends up happening to us though, is that when they leave us, we're devastated. We're like, what the fudge just happened? I love this person. Why did this happen? Why? And it's because we have that low self-esteem because of the original wound. And we're just like, oh my God. And they've gone on and we're devastated. And we keep thinking that somehow it's us. It isn't. Normal people don't act like that. Normal people don't, you know, mirror, abuse, mirror, abuse. It's not that. It's like a consistent, I like you. This is all good. We respect each other. Everything's okay. You know, this is a normal, healthy relationship. The crazy ones are the ones that go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So then when we get out of abuse, okay, moving forward, we get out of abuse, we're working on ourselves. Now we're obsessed. Oh, wait, back up. If we leave them, they become obsessed with us. That's where you get the obsessive stalker syndrome. So yeah, and I've already covered that in a couple of other videos. So, okay, so what ends up happening is we leave the abuse. We get out of the abuse. We're starting to come out of the fog. We've done our 7 times going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We recognize we're done. We're done being abused. Now we've left the relationship. Now we're dealing with the fear. Now we're with the therapist. We're working on our self-esteem. We're working on the codependency. We're working on that original wound. And now we're trying to learn everything we can about narcissism and borderline personality disorder, malignant, because we need to know why. Okay, so that is a phase of the healing process. Abso-freaking-lutely. What I do not want you guys to do is get stuck in that phase, because oftentimes you're never going to get an answer to why. You can understand it, and I think it's brilliant that we all understand what's going on so that we understand why the abuser acted the way they did, and that it is them, that it's not us, that it is them. But at some point, you either are going to go get your master's degree or you need to move on. One of the two. So it's normal. It's normal to want to understand and know everything you can about domestic violence and narcissism and dark triad and malignant borderlines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because you're trying to make sense of the chaos that has been. I am 100% behind that. I think that's great. But at some point when you have read every book out there and you get it, now you got to work on you. Now you got to focus on you. It's like, okay, you can't fix the abuser. They're done. Stick a fork in them. They're done. You have got to work on you. Hang on. I want to get back to that. Oh, what if I fail? Oh, my darling, what if you fly? That is one of my favorite memes. Absolutely. Yeah, we're terrified. Absolutely. You are valuable. I am valuable. Yeah, everybody is valuable in a healthy relationship. You bet. Being with an abuser is like being infected. Leaving the abuser won't cure the infection. It needs to be treated. Absolutely. That's a great analogy. And it's true because they infect us with their negativity, with their nastiness, with their lies, with their absence of a moral compass. They tell us that lying is okay, that cheating is okay. They normalize all of that. Remember, I talked about that. So when you come out of the abuse and now you're reading up on all of this, now you're recognizing some of your behavior that is the fleas. And this is oftentimes what happens is when people read Object of My Affection is in My Reflection, Coping with a Narcissist by Raquel Lerner. Holy cow, it's a long title. They recognize themselves in some of the behavior because they have picked up fleas. Absolutely. They've been infected. It is. It's like a zombie virus. They've been infected. Absolutely. And so when we leave an abusive relationship, we are treating that infection with self-esteem, with getting rid of the codependency, with working on the original wound and healing that. That's the only way that you're going to get rid of all the bullshit. So, okay. I want to know, as a co-parent, when you see your narc choosing their favorite child as their new narcissistic supply, how do you protect that child as the other parent without causing more fights in front of the kids? The child is 4, been going on since 6 months old. That's a tricky one. Open communication, open lines of communication. You don't ever want to badmouth your ex, absolutely, but you do kind of want to let them know what is normal behavior and what is not normal behavior. If you can get the kids into a child psychologist, absolutely. When you're divorcing, okay, here's something to keep in mind. If you are leaving an abusive relationship and there are children involved, young children, like minors, when you do your divorce decree, you want to make sure that you have the right to take the kids to a counselor, and you want to try to get final say on medical and things like that, because the narcissist will try to wrest control of everything. Some judges will grant it, some judges won't, but it's worth a try. But you want to make sure to get something in writing about, yes, it's absolutely the children are allowed to go to counseling and the opposing parent cannot interfere with it. You want to keep the line of communication open. You want to try to let them know without directly saying it that, this is normal behavior, this is not normal behavior, it's not you, it's them, that kind of thing. So that's a tough one. That is a real tough one. So we get stuck in this phase of wanting to know everything. And part of it is that we think that if we can know everything, somehow we're going to magically stay safe. Yes and no. I mean, it's a great idea to read up on the abusers and what they do and how they act and what they say and, kind of start making sense of everything that happened. But at some point, you're going to need to set that down and you're going to need to start working on you. And you're going to need to start working on the complex post-traumatic stress disorder. You're going to start needing to feel. You're going to start reading the CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. You're going to need to go through that book. You're going to need to read Harriet Breaker's The Disease to Please. You're going to need to start working on the self-esteem. And you want to start moving away from reading everything you can about the abuser to learning everything about you. You are valuable. You are important. Your thoughts, your feelings, your creativity, your joie de vivre. What is it that you like? What is it that you want to do? You are now your main focus. You need to treat you like you were your own child, because we're healing that inner wound. We're healing that inner child. So when a child has been infected with something, we do everything we can to heal them. So that means you need to do everything you can to heal you. That means you're going to work on you non-stop. And we don't do that. We always put ourselves last, always, because of the codependency. We have been trained to put ourselves last. When we are healing from abuse, we cannot. We must put ourselves first, us and our kids, same level. Healing, getting us better. Okay. I had a lightning bolt moment covert narcissistic abuse and CPTSD about 3.5 years ago. I still find myself watching videos and reading stuff about it. Is that normal? Yes. I do still feel I do feel it's helpful to, I can't read, to a degree, and like I'm moving on, but just wondered if you could talk about the process of moving on. So our process of moving on is going to be different for everybody. Okay. Yes, it is normal to still look up this stuff. Yes, you are still going to probably be educating yourself from here until kingdom come about abuse. I just don't want that to be your main focus. So you need that, we need that to be part of it, but it needs to be more about us. It needs to be more about the original wound. It needs to be about healing ourselves. It needs to be about the self-esteem. It needs to be about finding who you really are. So some of the funnest assignments that I give clients that have come out of abusive relationships is, okay, I would love for you to write down all of the things that you used to do before the abuser came into your life that you really enjoyed. What did you used to like to do? And oftentimes they'll look at me like blankly, like, I don't remember. I don't know. I'd have to, wow, I'm really going to have to think about that. Well, think about that. I really, really, really want you to think about that. What did you used to like to do? What were your hobbies? What did you enjoy? Who did you used to enjoy hanging out with? Who were you forced to give up? What were you forced to give up? What did you not want to give up that you did for the abuser that you thought was going to make your relationship with them better, but it didn't? You know, all of these things that you used to do, I really, really, really want you to write it down and then go do. So, for example, if pottery was your thing and your abuser forced you to give up doing pottery, I want you to go back to doing pottery. If hanging out with your best friend was your thing, find your best friend, make amends. It's just like the 12 steps. You're going to have to make amends. You know, you've put down the drug. You recognize that the behavior that you had when you were with your abuser was not functional and it was very much an addict behavior. Well, now you're going to have to go make amends to the people that you told to go fuck themselves while you were with the abuser. And I have to warn you, sometimes people are done. Sometimes people will be like, that's nice. Bye-bye, slam. Okay, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. Just like in AA, you are doing the amends for you to take responsibility for your behavior and go, yeah, you're right. I threw you under the bus for an abuser. You're absolutely right. I did. And I am sorry. No buts, no story, no bullshit, no narcissistic apology. Just I'm owning this. And then the other person will either have the opportunity to go, that's nice, slam. Or hopefully they'll go, wow, I'm glad you could see that. And then start rebuilding the relationship. So this is a process, and this is why we avoid it. This is why we dive into other relationships, because it's so scary and it's so painful. And yes, there is absolutely the possibility of rejection. You betcha. But here's the thing. 9 times out of 10, the family and the friends that you threw under the bus have been patiently waiting for you to wake the fuck up and acknowledge what's been going on and work on you and heal you and fix you and come back to them and go, I'm really sorry. Try it. You'd be surprised. So there's that. Okay. All right. 2 years. He keeps abusing and emotional starving the kids so they can't protect themselves, and he is dangerous. How can I protect them? If you have evidence, you need to get back into court. You need to get a restraining order. You need to make sure those kids are in front of a child psychologist or a child psychiatrist. I do know that there are forensic experts out there, and they are usually at the colleges, the universities, that can do interviews with the kids so that you get an expert witness. They are usually a PhD. And they can show, hey, these kids are suffering from abuse. Hey, we're seeing signs and symptoms. Hey, this is not a good situation. Hey, maybe we don't want to have this person having unsupervised visits, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, you've got to take the initiative, and you've got to go do things that will protect you and the kids. So that's really the best thing to do, is to get to a university, see if there is a forensic expert that can testify, because LPCs can't. We're just considered master's level, so you need a doctorate level to do that. So we can testify to what's in our notes, absolutely, but we're not considered expert witnesses. So yeah, that's what you're going to want to do, is you're going to want to find a forensic psychologist, psychiatrist that can document what is going on with the kids, and that can then go to the court and say, yeah, no bueno, we don't want this, okay? All right. I tossed my mother and ex out of my life in 3 weeks time period. Best decision I ever made. Welcome to sanity. Yeah, it's amazing how light your world gets when you leave an abusive relationship. It really, truly is. Okay, the broom analogy. Yeah, you got to sweep them out. I wrote out that feeling and stayed single, and now it's been 4 years, and I discovered I really love being alone. Yeah, absolutely. And that's not a bad thing. That really not necessarily a bad thing. You also want to make sure you're not isolating, because I do know that sometimes we go from the swing of the pendulum from one side all the way over to the other. So you don't necessarily want to do that either. However, if you are enjoying your alone time and you're not feeling deprived, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. It is good, though, to make sure that you have a social life and that you're out there and you're doing things that you enjoy, whether it's alone or whether it's with somebody else. Absolutely. I have found that getting involved in helping others affected by abuse in a volunteer capacity has really helped me move forward. Yeah, it oftentimes does, because oftentimes we often teach what we need to hear. And I find that all the time in counseling. It's like I'll be, making something to my client that, oh my gosh, they really need to get this. And then I'll stop and go, shit, I really need to get this, So yeah, we often teach what we need to hear. And working in a capacity to help others, we see where we've been, we see where we've come to, and that's a really good thing to see how far we've come. Honestly, even just leaving the abusive relationship, my God, that's huge. That's a huge step in the right direction. Absolutely. They prey on us. I was chosen when I was in my most vulnerable time in life. They do that on purpose. I even spoke to a sociopath who admits that they do this. Yeah, they do. They absolutely, they know. They pick their victims. They absolutely do. They know who can be abused and who can't, and that's why they do it. Okay, when I ghosted the ex-narc, I got rid of everyone toxic in my life, isolated myself, felt the feelings, learned to be alone, got EMDR. Ooh, EMDR is good. EMDR is really good. If you're having a hard time with the abuse, and you've got PTSD, CPTSD, EMDR is very, very helpful. Absolutely. Focused on learning about codependency and narc abuse, and I finally learned how to set boundaries. 2 years of work. 2 years of work. It does not happen overnight, guys. It's not a one and done thing. This is going to be an ongoing thing. I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm 50 and starting completely over, but I'm at peace because my thoughts are now my own, and I finally figured out who I am. Yvette, good job. Proud of you. Good job. That's what I want everyone to do. Thank you. I get all that, done that. It all makes so much sense. Self-parenting with the help of therapy. We invited the vampire, don't need their thoughts thereafter. Yeah, absolutely. Staying single forever. Need to start loving me. Okay, well, it may not be forever. Let's not get extreme here, but for the meanwhile, yeah, I agree. Okay. I felt like I was waiting for my abuser until I got into a relationship. Yeah, so because we're codependent, there is always going to be that part of us that wants them to get better. And we have great compassion for our abusers, but we have very little compassion for ourselves. And that's why I need us to start focusing in on the compassion for ourselves and the forgiveness for ourselves so that we can start healing. It's okay to understand why somebody was abusive, but you can love them from afar. You don't need to have them in your life. So in other words, Pima Chodron talks about idiot compassion. So compassion is where you can go, okay, I see this person is broken. I understand why they're broken. I get where they're coming from. I understand what the pathology is. I can have compassion for them, but I do not need them in my life. Okay, that's compassion. Idiot compassion is where we're like, I'm going to have them in my life and let them keep abusing me, and I'm just going to keep forgiving them. That's idiot compassion. Y'all don't want that. Don't do idiot compassion. So Pima Chodron talks about that. So there is a difference between true compassion and idiot compassion, and you do not want idiot compassion. That is just going to, good Lord, that is just going to damage you, and you don't want that. Okay. Yeah, and we do, for a while, we do want that person back in our life because we want to heal them, because we're natural healers, because we are empathic, because we know they're suffering, and we know that we could theoretically help them not suffer if they were present, but they're not. And if there was a moral compass there, but there's not. And if there was there, but there's not. Do you see where I'm going with that? So it's letting go of that fantasy of being able to fix them. We did not break them. We cannot heal them. It's not our job. Not your job. All right. Okay, Chris, do you believe in psychic energy connection that exists between a victim and an abuser, or is it a Jedi mind trick? Yeah, it is a Jedi mind trick. And yes, they are almost psychic. Absolutely. They know when we're about to leave. And the reason why is because they read body language, they read energy, they read, and I'm not just talking psychic energy. I'm talking about like how a person behaves, how we say things, micro expressions. So abusers and psychopaths, in particular, narcissists, dark triads, absolutely almost have a psychic connection to their abuse target. But I don't want to get all metaphysical and stuff. I do believe in that stuff, but let's stick with the science here. It is because they are reading the facial expressions. They are reading the body language. They're reading how we carry ourselves. They're reading the tone of our voice. They're reading all of this. And yes, they can tell when we're getting ready to leave because we're starting to get stronger and we're not putting up with their shit. And yes, they can tell when we are fill in the blank because they're watching. And they're calculating. So that's what psychopaths do, you bet. They absolutely read facial expressions, microfacial expressions, body language, how we're talking, what we're saying, how we're saying it. Yeah, absolutely. There is almost like a psychic connection, you betcha. And it's not our own mind trick. It is a Jedi mind trick on their part. And that's what they do. And they will tell us that they can read our minds. Absolutely. And they will tell us, I've heard them say that. It's like they're that freaking arrogant that they will do that. Okay. My abuser kept me up at night and I went to work catatonic and unable to function all the time. Yeah, that's what they do. And then that leads to poor performance at work, which leads us to get fired. So, I love it when a target of abuse sits on my couch and goes, yeah, I was so exhausted and I couldn't do what they wanted me to do. I didn't hit my numbers. I didn't da-da-da-da-da-da. But it's, it's not my abuser's fault. They're not saying abuser, but this is when they're in pre-contemplative stage. It's not my abuser's fault. It's not their fault, blah, blah, blah. Well, wait a minute. Didn't you tell me that they kept you up all night screaming at you? And you don't think that somehow that didn't affect your performance the next day at work? What? Hello, you're saying this, but this is happening. So there's a little cognitive dissonance going on there. So yeah, absolutely. They absolutely do that. They absolutely sabotage. They keep us up at night so that we don't perform well, that we don't hit our numbers, that we're not able to perform our tasks, so that we do get fired because they really just want to scream at us. That's their whole goal, or tell us how horrible we are, or compare us to the ex. Oh, you're just exactly like the ex. You're not making any money. You don't have a job. You're lazy. You're this, you're that. La, 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 la. Sound familiar? If it does, get out. Okay, trauma bonding. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, this is kind of embarrassing, but every few years or so, I encounter someone maternal who triggers an overwhelmingly strong response in me. They aren't even abusive, but I'm reduced to feeling like a very small child wanting inappropriate nurturing. Strategy is to stay away from them, but any advice on ending this? I'm in my 30s now, and it's so humiliating, totally inappropriate. It once happened at work. Inner child work. How old are you? How old are you when that happens? How old do you feel? How old is the little you inside? That's the little guy or girl that needs to be healed. That's what needs to be worked on. Get the inner child workbook. Cannot think of the name of it. Who wrote it? It's there somewhere. Get the inner child workbook and start working on the inner child. Work on that age range that you feel when you come across that maternal thing. So yeah, when we have been neglected, abused, ignored, et cetera, by a caregiver, that will trigger us when we see somebody who is potentially another mom or another dad. But you've got to get that under control. You've got to work on that inner child and grow your inner child yourself. You've got to be your own parent. You've got to be your own nurturing, loving mom or dad or both to that inner child. That is our task, is to reparent ourselves. So get the inner child workbook, start working on that. Start working on that original wound, get with a good therapist who understands inner child work. Do it. Absolutely. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Oh, sweetie, don't you ever be embarrassed. You let that shit go. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Put the shame back on your original abuser. In the CPTSD book by Pete Walker, he talks about turning the shame into righteous anger and putting it back onto the person it belongs to. You don't need to feel shameful. Every child wants to be loved, which means every human wants to be loved. Everyone wants that loving, kind, gentle parent that is going to support them and love them unconditionally. Abusers don't love unconditionally. They love very conditionally. So you're human. Rejoice in that. Good job. And I'm glad that you recognize this. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Go work on it. Love your little inner one. Grow your little inner one up so that they feel safe and they know that you've got their back. That's what needs to happen. Ask them what they need. And 9 times out of 10, your little inner child is going to say, I just want to be safe. I just need to know I'm protected. I need to know I'm loved. So go do that. And please don't ever feel shame. Put the shame back on the original abuser. That's where it belongs. Good job. Okay. All right. Good Lord. Where did my, okay. Chris was the first therapist who came out and said that it is okay to discontinue the relationship with the parent. This was in video's best message and I needed it. Yes. And I've said it before and I will say it again. If your family of origin is abusive and toxic and harmful and hurtful and abusing you and using you and yada, 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 and if you were not related to them, would you have anything to do with them? And if the answer is no, you act accordingly. It is okay. You are under no obligation to be with anybody, I don't care who the fuck they are, if they are abusing you. If they are family and they are abusing you, you don't have to be with them. You absolutely do not. If you would have nothing to do with them, then act accordingly. It is okay. All right. Thank you for bringing that up, Shannon. All right. I am in the working on me phase. Yes. And that's huge. Keep going. Absolutely. Keep going. I said today to my mother, don't project your stuff onto me. And now she uses this phrase all the time against me. They learn quick the lingo. Yes, they do. And this is something I mentioned last week. So what abusers will do is they will learn the lingo and they will use it against us. So one of their favorite ones is, don't project. And then they'll say that we're projecting it onto them when we're just mirroring back to them what they're doing. Or they will accuse us of triangulation when we've told them, I'm not going to triangulate with you. Sorry. And that's what they do. They know just enough of the lingo to twist it, to make it sound plausible. That's why it's so important to get the fuck away from them, because they're mimics. They mimic, just like an alien, just like a predator. They mimic. They mimic, and they do not understand psychology, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So boom, shakalaka. Yeah, they'll use the lingo against us. Absolutely. And you have to just kind of go, isn't that interesting? Gray rock. Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm in the phase, I'm learning all of this, and I can see me getting stuck. Now what? I've got to move on. I guess the next step is to focus on myself. Yes! Give yourself permission. This is the most important thing. When we talk to ourselves, it is so important to keep a journal, number one. You want to get everything out of your head that's negative, get it onto paper, trot it out to the barbecue, read it out loud once, burn it, let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Keep the good stuff. The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're doing positive self-affirmations in the mirror. So you're going to make eye contact with yourself. You're going to say, hello, good to see you. Have a wonderful day. I give you permission to like yourself. I give you permission to work on you. I give you permission to find your joy. I give you permission to get back the love and the health and the happiness that you had before the abuser. You give yourself permission, because the abuser has taken away all the permission. You can't do that. How dare you? I'm not going to let you work on yourself. How dare you? I'm going to make sure that your self-esteem workbook gets thrown away. Yeah, that's happened. I'm going to make sure that your disease to please disappears. I'm going to make sure that the object of my affection and is in my reflection gets torn up in one of my rages. I'm going to make sure. Do you see where I'm going with that? So they tell us by action that it's not okay for us to work on ourselves. So tell yourself by action that it is. Give yourself permission in the mirror. Abso-freaking-lutely. And at night, when you come home, hi, good to see you again. Here are 3 things you did right. So proud of you. Do that. And then give yourself permission to sleep well. It's okay for me to sleep well. It's okay for me to rest. It's okay for me to dream. It's okay for me to have fun on the astral plane. Absolutely. Go there. That's awesome. Work on you. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yes, these are my nails. All right. Hi, Chris. Still definitely working on me. I finally got a journal and all I've really done so far is drawn it. That's okay. Art therapy is awesome because not everybody processes the same way. Some people are verbal and they need to talk it out. And that's why I encourage them to talk in the car. You know, it's like if you need to work things out verbally, then do it in the car while you're driving because you're stuck in traffic anyway. So you might as well. Other people are very much writers and they like to, you know, type or write things out. Do it if that's what helps you process. Some people are, you know, artists and they need to draw and they need to color and they need to, that's why I keep crayons in my office, not just for the kids, but for the adults. So yeah, whatever helps you to process, do it. Do it. It's awesome. Do it. Doesn't have to be writing. It can be art. Abso-freaking-lutely. The stuff I need to write will come in time. Absolutely. Or not. Or it could just be all art. And that's fine. That is perfectly okay. It's been 6 months, no contact with my mom. My heart is finally feeling the truth that my head has understood for 6 months. Yeah, it takes a while for parts of our psyche to catch up. It does. It's like, even when we're in the midst of abuse, there's a part of us that knows that this is not normal. There is. But we're so deep into denial because we're in the fog. We're in the fear, false evidence appearing real, obligation and guilt, fear, obligation, and guilt, that we're denying it. You know, the other thing that could be going on too is that, you know, our ego is in the way. You know, we've gotten out of an abusive relationship. Oh, I'm never going to get into another abusive relationship again. I know what I'm doing. Blah, 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 blah. Boom, you're in another abusive relationship. And the ego's going, you can't admit to that. Holy crap. You can't admit to that. You can't admit you're in an abusive relationship. You got to kill the ego. Egos never lead to anything good. Honest to God. So get rid of your ego. Deal with reality. Stop being in denial. Get out of the fog. Save yourself. Work on you. Huge. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Yeah. And it takes time for parts of our psyche to catch up because there's always a part of us that knows right and wrong. If we had a moral compass before we got into the abusive relationship and then the abuser normalizes lying, cheating, stealing, then we come out of the relationship. Well, now we've got to, and we knew when we were doing it, there was a part of us that knew. There was a part of us that knew that this was not right. And then we come out of it. Now we've got to deal with that and we've got to make the amends. We've got to work on ourselves. We've got to be a man or woman of our word, because if you are not your word, you are nothing. Words mean nothing. Actions mean everything. So your words and your actions must match. Absolutely. And that's what we need to work on, because our abuser has taught us that it's okay to lie. It's okay to cheat. It's okay to steal. It's okay to be mean. It's okay to be cruel. It's okay to rage. It's okay to this. It's okay to that. Get rid of those fleas. Spush them. Absolutely. All right. Okay. And it takes a while to catch everything up, but yeah, absolutely. Okay. So true. Instead of focusing on the abuser, we should study us and learn about us. Yes. And it's fine to focus on the abuser for a little bit, because again, when we have been abused, part of us is like, well, if I understand it, I can stay safe. And that is part of the equation. It is only part though. So the other half of that equation is, yes, it's great to understand it, but you need to understand you. You need to get back into relationship with you. What lights your fire? What makes you happy? What did you used to like to do before the abuser came into your life? Who were your friends before the abuser came into your life? What did you used to do that just made you giggle? Really, that's what you're looking for. That's what you want to get back to. Absolutely. Okay. I've yet to be able to get into what I used to do. After 4 years out, I'm thinking I'm just a different person and maybe that part of me is gone. It's been hard to grapple with. I don't think it's gone, Nancy. I just think that it's been buried. And I think there's that non-permission. It's like, it's not okay to laugh, because what would happen if we were laughing? Oh, they'd make us wrong for it. Because they would, you know, how dare you be happy when I can't? That's what they do. That's why they ruin holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, yada, yada, because it's not about them and they can't feel. So they tell us that it's not okay for us to have that joie de vivre. It's not okay. So we have to give ourselves that permission. And then we have to go do. We have to go do. It's not just, we can't just intellectualize it. Okay, this is where I don't want you guys to get stuck. Because what we tend to do is we intellectualize it and we get stuck in the intellectualizing it. I need you to go do. Okay, when was the last time you did miniature golf? Go do it. When was the last time you flew a kite? Go do it. When was the last time you went to the ocean? Go do it. When was the last time, you know, whatever makes you happy. So obviously miniature golf, flying a kite, and going to the ocean all make me happy. So, you know, when was the last time? Go do it. Even if you're doing it by yourself, go do it. There's nothing more joyous than doing something that you used to like to do and you're alone and you're giggling like an idiot because it's so much fun because you haven't done it in so long. Give yourself permission. Go do. Go do. Don't get stuck in the intellectualizing. Go do. Go do. All right. I finally sent out friend requests to all the friends I completely dumped. Quite a few rejected me. That's going to happen. But I waited until I was okay with that. Good job. Good job, Kelly. Good job. Absolutely. And remember, you also want to explain to people. So you are now all ambassadors for teaching people about abuse. That is part of our job because normal people, normies, don't get it. They don't get it. They haven't been through it. They don't quite understand it. Even the families still don't get it sometimes. It's like you explain it to them and they'll look at you and go, but they really do love you, blah, blah. No, they don't. No, they don't. Especially if you're dealing with a toxic parent and you're working with the adult kid of that, the other family members will be like, oh, but they do love you. No, they don't. No, they don't. Real love does not involve hitting a kid, harming a kid, putting him down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, breaking bones. That's not love. Sorry. If it hurts, it ain't love. So we are now all ambassadors. So our mission is to explain why we dumped the friend. Again, this is part of the amends. This is absolutely part of the amends part. It's like, hey, I'm owning this. I got in with an abuser and I wanted to please them and they didn't want me to have my own family or friends. And in order to please them, I had to give up everybody. And it wasn't you. It was a choice I made in order to please my abuser. And I just wanted to let you know that. Boom. Apology. I am really, truly sorry. And it will not happen again. And then you make sure it doesn't. Because again, if you apologize and it happens again, you're not really sorry. So yeah, just want to make that clear. Okay. How to shut off constant obsessive thoughts about the ex. Okay. So this is common. So remember, they are like heroin or meth or crack or rum or tequila or any other drug. So when you are going cold turkey, and you have quit and you have put down the drug, you will have obsessive thoughts about it, whether it is alcohol, drugs, or a person. Okay. Why? Because your brain is trying to get the high. Even though that person is no longer in your life, you are calling them up and you're trying to get the high, just like a heroin addict who doesn't even push the plunger passes out because they've already anticipated the high and the brain has released all the endorphins, dopamine, serotonins, etc. Happens more often than you'd think. So that's what we're doing. We are calling up the abuser in order for us to get that high. So you got to stop. So you acknowledge it. Oh, yep, my brain's trying to get the endorphins, dopamines, norepinephrine, serotonins, etc., blah, blah, blah. Thank you, brain. That was a lovely thought. I am not going to entertain this. Bye-bye. Float down the Ganges. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Yeah, and you got to replace it. It's like, what can you replace it with? Well, what else makes you happy? How about who you were before you got involved with them? What did you used to like to do? What did you like? Who did you hang out with? Who did you enjoy being with? Where did you laugh all the time? Who made you happy? What made you happy? You made you happy. How did you make you happy? Let's go figure that out. Let's think about that. So when the X pops up, again, like any other thought, you don't resist it because what you resist persists, but you also don't invite it in for coffee. And the reason we're calling them up and we're having the obsessive thoughts is because our brain is going, where the fuck is my high? What? How come the tequila's gone? What the fuck just happened? I need that hit. Wow. That's what we're doing. We're calling them up because we want to get high again. So like any addiction, you've got to just go, nope, not today, Satan. And you think about something else or you journal. Wow, today I really was thinking about my ex and boy, I really wanted that high. And isn't that interesting? So it's part of the brain going, where the hell's my drug? Where the hell's my drug of choice? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? That's what our brains are figuring out in that first year. Okay. That's why I keep saying you got to stay single that first year to work on you. And usually at that point, that's when people look at me and go, I can't do that. Well, guess what? So in 28 days, this is what I started to say. Somehow I got off track about an hour later. Sorry. So 28 Days was a great movie with Sandra Bullock. I love it because it's about, going into a rehab. She's an alcoholic and she does all sorts of stuff. She goes into a rehab. And so basically it's like, they're talking about you need to stay single. And, if you can keep a plant alive, for 3 months or 6 months after you've been sober for a year, then you can move to a pet. And then when you've moved to a pet, then you can move to a person. And basically what they're saying is it takes time. It takes time. It takes a good 2 years. It takes a year of absolutely being single and healing yourself and getting rid of that drug of choice and not going back and relapsing, right? And then after that, it's like, okay, I got this. I can start working on this now. I can start working on what I used to love, or I can start working on, maybe pursuing this career that I never pursued, or maybe taking these classes that got sabotaged. Or do you see where I'm going with that? It takes time. It takes time. And that's the one thing abusers don't like, is they don't give us time. They don't. That's why they hoover immediately. Hoover, hoover, hoover. Valentine's Day came up. Boom, 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 boom. Hoover, hoover, hoover. That's because they can't stand being alone themselves because of their thoughts. So you need to learn to love to be alone for a while. Not permanently, just for a while, until you can keep a plant alive in a pet, and then you can think about a relationship, metaphorically speaking. So great movie, 28 Days with Sandra Bullock. I really love that. Okay. It's like a computer virus, yes, thinking about them, and it's always present, that I can't shut off. Yes, you can. So you've got to change the way you think about things. I choose not to entertain this thought. Yes, I see it. No, I'm not inviting it in. Yes, I want the high. Not going to do it. Not today, Satan. Bye-bye. Do you see where I'm going with that? Working on the CPTSD and self-esteem, it can't stop subconscious idealization of him. Okay, and so it's not subconscious if you're aware of it. So since you're now aware of it, what you're going to want to do is journal it out. Why the fuck are you idealizing him? Why are you putting him up on a pedestal? Him or her? What are you doing? What is going on? What are you thinking? How old are you? Where does this connect to your original wound? Who does he remind you of? Who does she remind you of? Whoever the abuser was. How old? And which parent? Which caregiver? Which original wound? Where does this connect? That's what you've got to start doing. Instead of getting stuck in the memories, you've got to start going, okay, interesting. I want to idealize them. What's going on? Who do they remind me of? Who's the parent? Who's the caregiver? Who's the what's going on? What's happening? This is no longer subconscious. This is now conscious. What's going on? And make the connection. Journal it out. Get with your therapist. Start working on it. Abso-freaking-lutely. Stop using him as an anchor. He's not really an anchor. You need to value you. Absolutely. Absolutely. You need to value you. And we are addicted to that mirroring because they mirrored us back to us. So you need to start mirroring you back to you. That's why I'm saying mirror work, mirror work. Be happy to see you. Hi, good to see you. Have a wonderful day. I give you permission to work on self-esteem. I give you permission to work on being your own anchor. Do you see where I'm going with that? You mirror you back to you. Because that's what they did to us. And that's what we fight and claw so desperately to get back to. But it wasn't real. It was an illusion. It wasn't real. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Just let it go. Okay. Yeah. And you are really struggling with this. Absolutely, Debbie. It's common. This is what we all go through. This is absolutely what we all go through, because there's that time period where we want that drug of choice. We want that hit. We want that high. We miss that person. Well, what we miss is the mirroring. We miss that, that high that we got off of them mirroring us back to us. So now we need to mirror us back to us. And that's the task. And that's the fear, is that we're not going to be able to do it. But the truth is you can. Absolutely. And it's changing the way you say things is very important. So a little neuro-linguistic programming. It's like, yes, you can stop this. Yes, it is a choice. I don't have to think about him or her. I can let him go. I can let her go. I can do things differently. So, all right. What are the names of those books? I've heard to mention them before. Okay, so the books that I love, and I've posted them on, good Lord, where did I post them? They're somewhere on the What's Wrong page, or What's Wrong? We Need to Talk page, but I will say them again. So here are the pages, here are the books that you need. The Self-Esteem Workbook by Schiraldi, Glenn Schiraldi, Schiraldi, Glenn Schiraldi, The Self-Esteem Workbook. The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, Braiker, Harriet Breaker. CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, Walker. That one's going to trigger you, so take it in tiny little chunks. Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, another great book. That's for working on us, forgiving us, because we tend to beat ourselves up after the abuse. Because why did I let it happen? How come I couldn't see it? What, it's my fault. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea max culpa. Because we're used to blaming ourselves for everything because of the codependency. So Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, Forgiving Others, Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. Love that book. And Inner Child Workbook. And I don't know who that's by. So those are books that are all going to help you move forward. Absolutely. And a lot of them you can get on audio. So look for those. Okay. Okay. Who are they? The nice person or the asshole? They are the asshole. They pretend to be a nice person. Yeah, absolutely. The Object of My Affection is in My Reflection by Raquel Lerner. That's a wonderful book that really does help you understand narcissistic abuse. The other one for borderline is Stop Walking on Eggshells by Randy Krieger. That's a good one too. My ex was shocked when I left, which surprised me because I had pulled away from him, barely talked to him, and we had no physical contact for some time. I don't know why he was surprised, because they're so arrogant, sweetie. They cannot conceive that somebody would actually go, done. They can't conceive of it because they're all that in a bag of chips. So yes, they are constantly surprised when we leave, because how dare we? How dare we catch on to their game? How dare we take care of ourselves? How dare we say no? It's a thing. Okay, I was kept up 3 hours a night for more than 2.5 years. Yeah, that's what they do. Mine always said he could read my mind, but he also accused me of things that were never in my thoughts. Yeah, they project. So they project onto us what they are thinking and feeling. So if they are accusing you of having relationships and affairs and et cetera, you can bet your sweet bippy that they are, and you should go get tested. Okay, I had a client the other day that just started telling me about her divorce and current relationship. She expressed concerns about some of his controlling behavior. He actually picked out her polish color, and she went with it, even though she really wasn't keen on it. She said that her sister had pointed out some of her current significant other's narcissistic behavior. I paused and I thought, what would Chris say in this situation? I told her to pay attention to the red flags. Your head and your heart will lie to you. Trust your gut. Yes. If it feels wrong in your gut, it probably is. Good job. And that's what I'm saying. We are now the ambassadors. Now that we have educated ourselves on what the abuse is, and now that we're working on us and we're working on the self-esteem and the disease to please, we're working on the codependency, we're working on figuring out who we are now the ambassadors. So when you hear or see somebody say things like that, please, please, please speak up. Don't stay silent. Abuse thrives in darkness and it thrives in silence. Don't be silent. So good job. Good job. Good job, Cynthia. Absolutely good job. Yes, I relate to him keeping me up at night. Then sometimes he could see me sleeping and wake me up. Yeah, they do that. They absolutely do. They bang pots and pans, throw on the lights, open and slam drawers. John Bradshaw for Inner Child Work. Thank you, Nancy. John Bradshaw, Inner Child Work. Okay. Melanie Beatty. I think it's spelled Beattie, I think. I'm not sure. It's either Y or IE. I'm not sure. Okay. I just could never understand where his thinking would come from. Would just think he was crazy. Well, they are really, when you think about it, because it's so illogical. So when you're dealing with somebody who's in a rage, they're not logical. At this point, they're grasping to whatever they can throw out at you to make you feel guilty, obligated, fearful, pure obligation and guilt. Hello, that's their stock and trade. So yeah, there is no logic to it. Okay. Okay, the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. Read it. It was really great. Good. Okay, good. That's another good book. Yeah, and you want to stay in the present. So whenever the ex pops up, okay, that's the past. That's the past. I don't need to deal with that. I'm done. What is, not what if, not I wish. What is? They were abusive. Yeah, look, there's my abuser. And then you remind yourself of every rotten thing they ever did to you. That's another reason why it's important to write it down. Oh, that's another thing. When you get out of the relationship, write it down. What did they do to you? Put that somewhere where you can see it so that when those thoughts pop up, you can go, oh, here's what is. Kept me up at night. made me lose my job, took my kids away from me, did this, did that, made sure that my friends stopped talking to me, made sure that I didn't have my hobbies anymore, made sure that my family wouldn't talk to me, made sure, the list keeps getting longer and longer and longer. So yeah, you do that. That's another way to stop that. It's kind of like, what is? Okay. Stay in the present. Absolutely. Spent 2.5 years going to therapy, saying I don't understand why I'm so exhausted. I shouldn't be, after my mom kept me up for 8 solid years and saying it was because she loved me. I developed chronic fatigue. My therapist would just gently point me back to the fact that maybe I was so tired because I hadn't slept. Took years to undo that brainwashing. Yeah, and it is brainwashing, guys. It absolutely is. They absolutely brainwash us. They convince us that the family and the friends are the problem. They convince us that we're the problem. They convince us that, anything they want to convince us of. It is the constant, and sleep deprivation is part of that, because then we're easier to manipulate. You bet. All right. Oh, I'm glad you like the self-care recommendations. Watching your videos helped me realize that my in-laws are flying monkeys. Even though I went gray rock with the abuser, the in-laws were also controlling and pushing my boundaries. I blocked their phone number and I'm feeling so much better. Good. Okay. I do a lot of venting in the car. Good. That's absolutely good. Yeah. Music. Oh, that's the other thing. Get back in touch with music, guys. Get back in touch with music. Things that help you express. So for me, there's a couple of artists that I really, really love. Midge Ure is one of them. I'm an 80s chick. Hello. Big hair, So Midge Ure is one of them, and he's got a couple of songs that I really, really love. One of them is called Lied, You Lied, which is absolutely describing an abusive relationship, and that, you lied. Every word that came out of your mouth, every sweet little whisper that you said was a lie. You lied. And, it's a really cathartic song. So by Midge Ure. It's a great song. The other one is called Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, because the truth of the matter is we are grieving the loss of what could have been had they been normal. Yes, we do. We grieve the loss of what could have been, if only. If only. And I talk about that in my first book. Hello, shameless plug. In my first book, What's Wrong with Your Dad? I talk about my dad, and the saddest part of his funeral was we all sat around the table going, if only. If only he'd been sane, if only he'd been normal, if only he could have seen us, if only his parents weren't crazy, if only, if only, if only. So, so Midge Ure, Dancing with Tears in Your Eyes, love that song. The other one is You Lied by Midge Ure. It's great. It's very cathartic. So get music that helps you process. Get music that helps you access those emotions and acknowledge the lies and acknowledge the brainwashing. And do you see where I'm going with that? It's really, turning the songs up, the tunes up in the car while you're driving and, singing them at the top of your lungs is very, very cathartic and amusing for the people around you. So one time I was just rocking out and this guy next to me was like, what is she doing? I was like, hi, I'm singing. Thank you. I'm working things through. Have a nice day. So yeah, that's what you want to do. So the other book is You Could Lead a Horse to Water, but You Can't Make Him Cha-Cha. Also available on print on demand. And I'm doing the book signing March 23rd. Whoa, sorry. Oh, everybody just went deaf. Sorry about that. March 23rd at Changing Hands Bookstore in Tempe, Arizona. So I'll be speaking from 7 o'clock until about 7:45, and then I'm going to take as many questions as I possibly can. Please come. You can meet me. You can buy a book. You can say hello. You can tell me what you'd like to see on these podcasts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That would be awesome. Okay. Nonverbal art therapy cracked the case for me. Yes. See, that's what I'm saying. Whatever works for you. If it's singing, if it's listening to tunes, if it's drawing, if it's art, if it's sand tray therapy, if it's playing with little figurines, if it's, whatever, journaling, typing, whatever, do it. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Just do it. Absolutely. Okay. I'm still traumatized regarding journaling because I woke up once with my abuser reading it, repeating paragraphs. He read the entire journal and referred to it as my book of lies. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Okay. So when you're in an abusive relationship, do not keep a journal. Seriously, because we don't think about things like this because we wouldn't violate somebody else's privacy, but guess what? An abuser will. So if you are still in that relationship, for the love of God and all that's holy, do not keep a journal because they will use it against you. Abso-fucking-lutely. So if you are doing a journal, you want to make sure it's password protected, or you want to make sure you keep it at work. so that they cannot use it against you. Absolutely. So that they can't just go start rifling through it. Yeah, absolutely. Toxic parents do that all the time. I cannot tell you the number of times I've had teenagers come to me and go, yeah, so, my mom or my dad just read through my journal and basically has been punishing me for the last week for whatever. So don't keep a journal if you're still in a toxic relationship, or if you're a minor and you're still under their house, because they'll use it. They absolutely will. My mom tried to read mine and I was just like, oh, hell no, bitch. So don't keep a journal. It's not safe. Keep a journal after, when you get out. Absolutely. And you're going to have to give yourself permission, and you're going to have to remind yourself that you're out of that abusive relationship now, and it's okay for you to keep a journal. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. Oops, guilty on that one about the denial of being in another abusive dynamic, having left the last one going, well, I'll never let that happen again. Tips on how to kill the ego. The ego stuff kind of feels like a flea to some extent. It is. It absolutely is, because narcissists and borderlines are nothing but ego. So hang on a second. Okay. So killing the ego. The ego is the head and the heart. It's not the gut. It is the head and the heart. It is not the gut. You want to listen to your gut. So when your head is saying things like, well, I can't admit to being in another abusive relationship, what will they think? That's your ego talking. Hello? So you got to be able to go, wow, hello, ego. That was a fascinating thought. Here's an idea. You're wrong. You picked another loser. Hello, I get to now work on this. You just keep putting it down, putting it down, putting it down, putting it down. You don't allow that to dictate your actions or what you do or don't do. It's like, look, if you're in another abusive relationship, for the love of Christ and all this holy, admit it, stop being in denial, stop allowing your ego to run the show, and start working on why you're in another abusive relationship. So the ego will always lead us to do things that are harmful to ourselves. Always. Always. The gut doesn't. The head does. So don't listen to your head. Don't listen to that gobbledygook. Well, I can't admit that. Why not? It's called being honest. It's called being truthful. It's called being what is. What is. So you want to live in what is. Ego lives in what if. Ego lives in, I need to look perfect. I need to be perfect. I need to have everyone think that I'm perfect. It's that whole perfect thing. It's that alcoholic, I need to be perfect thing. So that's how you know you're dealing with the ego. Things are not going to be perfect. Shit is going to happen. It is going to go sideways. You are going to have to take responsibility for it. The ego never wants to take responsibility for things. So self-responsibility helps kill the ego. Accepting and owning your part of you and what you're doing kills the ego. Does that make sense? So that's what you need to work on. Absolutely. Okay. All right. And it is a flea. So remember that. I explain abuse, DV, cognitive dissonance, and trauma bonding all the time. Good job, Beth. Keep going. Fight or flight is associated with addictive behaviors. AA will not understand this. So you don't have to go to an AA meeting, but what would be good is to get the big book and start working the steps. And instead of using the drug, the alcohol, whatever, you just substitute the abuse. Seriously, it's really that simple, guys. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be difficult. Like my friend Lauren Archibek always says, it doesn't have to be difficult. So just substitute the drug of choice with the abuser, the love bombing, the mirroring. That's what you're working on. So do the steps, do the steps, do the steps. You can get the big book off of Amazon. Okay. I don't want him back after 18 years of abuse. Good. Don't take him back. All right. Let's see. I've also just been diagnosed with arthritis. Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Get with a good doc, a good naturopath too. Not just traditional medicine, but find somebody who's a good naturopath, and they can probably help you. So, Chris, could you talk a bit more about why it seems that victims tend to forget how awful the abuse was after leaving the abuser? Okay, abuse amnesia. Abuse amnesia. So remember, our abuser has been telling us for years, usually, that didn't happen. You didn't see that. I never said that. You're remembering that wrong. That never went down that way. They've been brainwashing us for years. So when we come out of the relationship and now we're in We're now alone and we're stuck with these thoughts and we're terrified, like really terrified, like little kids, terrified, really, seriously. Oh my God, I'm going to die alone. Oh my God, this is going to be horrible. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We tend to forget all of the horrible things that happened because we focus in on all the good things that happened, because we wish, magic thinking, like a little kid. Remember, if the little kid is the one that's in charge, we're going to have magic thinking. We wish, if only. Well, maybe it'll be better if. Well, maybe they would love me if. Well, maybe they'd come back if. Maybe they'll be different if. Okay, magic thinking. You got to get rid of it. You got to kill that. That's part of the ego. But it's also dealing with that little kid. It's also dealing with that inner child that just so badly wants to fix this original wound. And this reminds them of the original wound. And oh God, this is too scary and this is too frightening and I can't cope. And so I'm just not going to think of any of the bad stuff. I'm going to think of all the good stuff so that I can pretend that it could be better. So it's abuse amnesia. It is abuse amnesia on our part. That's why it's so important to write the abuse down so that we have it for referral. So when our brain starts doing that, we can go, au contraire, here's all the things that happen. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, I've decided to do things like exercise multiple times a day, and I use my abuser as motivation, but not as revenge, but rather I tell myself I could do things that were painful and push through because I wasn't allowed to complain. Do now I say, I can. It feels great. Yeah, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do that. Abusers only want the bad news. They only want drama. They don't want to hear the good things that you're doing for yourself. So we get into this very nasty habit of focusing in on the negative. Negative, losing a job, not being able to do things. Oh my God, drama. You've got to start focusing in on the positive. You've got to retrain your brain to start focusing in on the positive. Okay. Wonderful answer. Thank you so much, Chris. Good to know it's about the system trying to get the drug. Yes, it is. And that it's a choice I can make. Yes, it is absolutely a choice. It absolutely is. You don't have to think about them. And that I can mirror myself. Yes, absolutely. You do the mirror work. It's so funny because people always make fun of me. They're always like, this is stupid. Why do I have to do this? I'm like, trust me. Do it for a week consistently, every day, morning and evening, and then come back and tell me how you feel. And it's so funny because they'll walk in and they'll be like, oh my God, I feel great. You're so right. And I'm like, I know. I've been doing this for years. I know. But it's kind of like, it's hard to believe that just saying something nice to yourself can be that changing, even in just a 1 week period. But it can. It's what we tell ourselves. It's what we tell our inner child. You must be gentle with you. That's why I always when I sign off, when I'm talking to people on YouTube or whatever, and I'm into question, I usually end it with stay strong and be gentle with you, because we're not. We're not gentle with ourselves. We must be. We must speak to ourselves the way we would as if we were our own child, because there is that inner child in there that has been harmed that we need to re-raise. So yeah, always speak gently to yourself and do that positive mirror work. Talk to yourself the way you want to be talked to. Encourage yourself the way you wish you had been encouraged. Be your own hero. You've got to. Okay. All right. I'm still no contact with the new number. Don't want to go back. He is sick and nasty and so extreme. Yeah. Don't go back. I suggested miniature golf to a friend and he replied, I'm not a miniature golfer. I'm a huge golfer. My inner child is delighted by this comment alone. Okay. Yeah. Goofiness. You know what? Narcissists don't have a sense of humor. And if they do, it's nasty. And it's vicious, and it's mean, and it's sarcastic, and it's snarky. And that's not humor. That doesn't take a rocket scientist to do. That takes an idiot to do, and they are idiots. So when we get back to our real selves, we delight in the childlike sense of humor. I'm not a miniature golfer, I'm a huge golfer. It's giggly, it's silly, it's fun, and it's not harmful. So we get back to our sense of humor. I strongly recommend getting back to humor, finding a movie that makes you laugh. That's another thing. So the song, like I said, by Midyear, some of my favorite movies are Robin Williams, some of his live stuff that he did. And Jim Carrey, Liar Liar. Oh God, that just cracks me. If I'm not feeling good, that's the one I watch. So, it's get back to the sense of humor. Get back to the childlike sense of humor. Absolutely. But that's exactly what they try to kill in us. Well, you're so childish, is what they say. You're such a child. I have to do everything. Blah, 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 blah. And they want you to be completely serious. And if you do have a sense of humor, they want your humor to be like theirs, which is snarky, nasty, mean, cruel. Again, doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, get back to that childlike sense of humor, because that's what we're dealing with. We're re-raising that little inner child. I love Monty Python. Monty Python is one of my favorites. Mel Brooks. I love Mel Brooks. Okay, he's a little sexist. So, he couldn't get these movies made today, but that's what I grew up on. And they make me laugh. And he makes me laugh. Spaceballs is hysterically funny. So, it's do that. Get back to that laughter. Get your laughter. The devil runs from laughter. Boy, isn't that the truth. Do it. All right. All right, let's see. Me too, with the mother doing sleep abuse and needing to recover from chronic fatigue. Okay, yeah. Any tips on helping others in abusive situations without codependently trying to fix the situation or crossing over into semi-controlling territory? It's really hard because, again, if somebody's not done being abused, they're not going to want to hear it. So it's kind of you just plant seeds. That's all you can do. You don't deserve to be treated poorly. You don't deserve to be treated without respect. You are a good person. You are smart. You are funny. You are kind. You are an adult. You have a wonderful sense of humor. You are this. You remind them. You mirror back who they really are to them. That's what you do. And that's really all you can do until that beautiful day, God willing, they finally go, you know what? I'm done being abused. Help me. Great. Let's go see a therapist. That would be awesome. That's what you do. You just plant seeds. That's all you can do. Because honestly, to do any more, they're going to get resentful. They're going to get angry. Their ego's going to kick in. I'm not in an abusive relationship. Fuck you. You're the one that needs therapy, not me. Blah, 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 blah. That's all ego. That's all ego. So yeah, you just plant seeds. That's all you can do. And let them know the door is, it may have been slammed in your face, or you as the family or friend may have shut it because you were getting damaged, but it's not locked. If they want to walk back in through that door at any time, with caveat, with a sincere amends, then yeah, absolutely. You'll be standing on the other side of the door. Absolutely. But other than that, not interested. So yeah, exactly. All right. All right. I know who he is and can predict him, but he has stepped up his game to a whole new pathological level. I'm exhausted from not only him, but my arthritis causes extreme pain and exhaustion. I lost my job, home, friends. I'm still homeless, jumping home to home, have no money, and I'm stuck. Not stuck with who he is, stuck with extreme pain, insomnia. Yeah. Okay. So AuntBertha.com is a social services thing, at least here in Arizona. I don't know if it's a social services thing throughout the country, but I do know that here in Arizona, it is AuntBertha.com, has social services. So you might want to look into that. You want to look into Catholic Charities and see if they have any programs for domestic violence. You want to look into Jewish Family Services, same thing. Give the local women's shelter a call, see if you can get any sort of help for medical, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So AuntBertha.com. Try it. I don't know if it's nationwide. I only know that it works here in Arizona. So give it a shot. All right. All you can do is tell them to stay out of it. It's up to them. Yeah, it is up to them. They will either stay in the relationship or they'll get out. And if they get out, hopefully they'll recognize that they can make amends, and they can try to repair the friendships or the sibling relationships or the parental relationships. And yeah, hopefully. My ex found my journal on my workplace computer. He broke and entered and intended to use it against me. Yeah, of course they do. They're terrible that way. My mother recommended I read my daughter's journal. No, then couldn't understand why I thought I shouldn't, I wouldn't, and couldn't. Yeah, that's what they do. Yep, it's my ego. Yeah, it is. It is our ego. It totally is our ego. We've just got to kill the ego. Kill the ego. We are all perfectly imperfect. Yep. The big book is great. Yes, it is. It's a lifesaver, literally. I can't get rid of mine. She is my sister, sadly. I've cut all ties with her and her offspring, but they are still part of the family. So even though they are still part of the family, you draw strong boundaries and you don't play games. You don't entertain. You don't allow bullshit to happen. You just don't, it's like when you've got a relative, because I have one too, you just don't. You draw strong boundaries. It's like, nope, not going there. Nope, not discussing this. Nope, not going to have this conversation right now. Thanks for playing. Bye-bye. You just got to draw strong boundaries. That's really what you got to do. Okay. Can an abuser forget the abuse? Yes, that is also called abuse amnesia, but it's different. So I'm going to talk about that. So abuse amnesia. Okay, so wait. My dad claims he doesn't remember all the horrible things he told me when my mom divorced him. Of course he does. So here's the thing. Abusers claim that nothing ever happened. That never happened. I never did that. I never said that. That never occurred. What are you talking about? Rewriting history. It's gaslighting. So it's called abuse amnesia for them as well, but they're intentionally lying and saying that they don't remember it. They remember it. They just don't want to remember it, or they don't want to cop to that they said and did these horrible things. I have literally had abusers sit there and say, oh, I didn't break my child's nose. That never happened. Meanwhile, the kid's got a broken, deviated septum, and that they have been hit in the face by this person. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, but just because your magic thinking is saying if it's not true, then it's not true, that does not mean the rest of the world sees it that way. So yeah, they know that they have abused. They know they have said horrible things, and they don't want to own it because, again, their egos are so ginormous that they cannot own up to and take responsibility for their own actions. So they will deny that it ever happened, even though you've got 100,000 million witnesses that it did. So yeah, they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, basically. So yeah. Absolutely. So that is abuse amnesia from the abuser's standpoint, is that they don't want to take responsibility for anything that they have said or done. Okay. Yeah, you just block them. Block. Okay. All right. So, all right. I'm losing my voice, so we're going to stop. So I just wanted to remind you guys that after the abuse, after the abuse, you're coming out of the fog. You're going to have these weird thoughts that are not yours. They're going to be the abusers. They're going to be the original wound. You need to get with a really good therapist and start working on the original wound, work on the self-esteem, work on the codependency, work on the CPTSD. You've got to work on all of that. You've got to stay single for at least minimum a year so that you work on who you are. Then the next step is, what makes you happy? What you used to do? Who'd you hang out with? Where was your joy? What happened? Okay. And you work on you. You work on you. You are your priority. You work on that inner child. You work on the inner child with the inner child workbook, whichever person wrote the inner child workbook. You work on that. You work on, why are you getting triggered? What are your triggers? What's happening? What are your list of deal breakers? What will you not put up with again, ever, in any relationship, whether it's romantic or friendship or work? What will you not put up with? What was your abuse? Write it out. Get it out of your head. Get it on the paper. Write it all down so that when your abuser comes back to Hoover, and they will, you've got it right there so that you can go, not today, Satan. You know what I'm saying? You do that. So you take care of you. And yes, you're going to want to know everything about the abuser so that you can kind of sort of understand what the fuck was going on in their fucked up little brains. But once you have done that, now you want to focus on you. You can still go back and understand stuff, absolutely, but you need to go back and work on you and the inner child and growing you up gently. You want to do the mirror work. You want to speak kindly to yourself. You want to re-raise yourself with absolute love and respect and gentleness, just like you would with any child. And you want to take time doing that. Okay, so again, I want to reiterate, I will be having a book signing in Tempe, Arizona, March 23rd at Changing Hands Bookstore. Be there. I would love to see you guys. I would love to meet you. I'd love to be able to put a face to the names that I see over here all the time. The book will be on sale there. And I want to answer as many questions as possible. So I would love for you guys to come. And I'll be on March 23rd at 7 p.m. So from 7 to about 7:45, I'll be doing, like a little talk about what the book is. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them cha-cha. Why some people stay in abuse and some don't. The audio for this should be coming out in this next month. So that will be available also on Amazon at some point. And also the audio for What's Wrong with Your Dad will be available. These are both available on Kindle. So you can get them on there as well. But I would love to have you come out for the March 23rd book signing at Changing Hands in Tempe, Arizona. I'd love to see you. I'd love for you to ask questions, because remember, guys, as many questions as you're asking me here, there are hundreds of people out there that have the same question but are too afraid to ask. So the more questions you ask, the better. I'm going to try to get to some of the questions that have been coming in, because there's been a lot of them coming in on another one-off video. I don't know if I'll have time this week because I'm super booked this week, but if I can, I will, and I will let the people who have, texted me or sent me stuff, know when I'm going to do it so that they know to watch for it. So there is that. All right, guys, I got to get jamming. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. Be kind, be gentle to yourselves, be gentle to each other. Please take very good care of yourselves. Love that inner child. Just love them up. Love them up. Just tell them how wonderful they are. Find your joy. Find the humor. Find what makes you laugh. Remember who you are. Please remember who you are. Remember, it's just like in Moana. Remember Moana, and Tafiti gets her soul stolen by Maui, and she becomes Taka, this person that is not her, liar, cheater, stealer, etc. But then her soul gets replaced. The abuse is stopped. Her soul gets replaced. She is Tafiti. Remember who you are. You're Tafiti. Go have a wonderful week, guys. Love you all. Mwah. Take care. Bye.